Okay, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is for all of you. Welcome to another race as part of the SG Live Link to the Past Randomizer tournament. We are getting set for a Group I matchup between Gem and Dr. Marty Zero. At this point in time, Gem is 3-0, while Dr. Marty is 2-1. So this will be their final match as part of the group stage. My name is Radical Sniper 99.
And I am doing co-com with Radical Sniper. My name is Toads Olive. I'll also be doing the tracking, so you might not hear me quite as much as you hear Radical Sniper during this. So what are you looking forward with this seed, Radical?
Well, you know, because we're dealing with open boots, the big thing you always look for in this mode is a lot of execution. You know, you start with those boots, so you look at those top runners and you're looking for good, clean lines of your dashes, low bonk counts. What are you looking for?
I have watched quite a few of these races, done some proctoring and things, and I have seen quite a few, we'll say, difficult seeds. So I'm looking kind of like you for something that's a really high execution seed, maybe something that is a little bit less ice rod hunt, less of like trying to find those difficult items, and more just like really clean boss fights, really clean dungeon runs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I know we are getting started. Just trying to get some stuff loaded on my end. Apologies.
Okay, and starting right out, we're both going to start with the Sanctuary, and I didn't quite catch, I saw a pendant, a red pendant, but I didn't quite catch where everything else was. And both runners are heading for Bonk Rocks, a pretty typical start in this mode. And it looks like Dr. Marty is going to give us our first look in the forest, while Jim is going to be heading up towards lumberjacks and tree poles. And looks like Dr. Marty checks the Thieves' Hideout, finds a bottle, and Jim is heading up, to check out the lumberjack, see if this is going to be an Aga seed or not. Didn't quite catch that check there. Did you manage to see it there, Radical?
No, unfortunately for me, my screen is not loading properly for some reason.
Okay, well, we did have the mushroom was 50 rupees. Hopefully we can check out that check again when Dr. Marty runs over to it. Jim, following in Dr. Marty's footsteps, gets the 50 rupees off the mushroom and is going to head out down to the Thieves' Hideout. Meanwhile, Dr. Marty is heading down into Kakariko and going for the Blinds Hut as the first check. There are going to be 5 checks here because Dr. Marty was lucky enough to go ahead and pick up 3 bombs, so they will be able to check the back. Our first check is just a red rupee. Oh, then we find our bow. Early bow is nice. We also find our gloves.
Definitely, you know, we'll likely see a very early Eastern Palace with that kind of thing.
And Jim accidentally jumping off the ledge, but getting back up into the blinds. You can see not quite happy with that that slip there. Oh, I'm sorry, it was a red crystal on desert. And it looked like our other 2 light worlds were also crystals. We're checking out the well. The front was just a bomb. In the back, we see... And I missed that one. We get powder, though. And the book. Oh, we have literacy. What does our bottle vendor have for us today? Just some bombs. A little expensive for 3. And the chicken hut. These are your pretty classic Kakariko checks. Just has a heart container.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'll delay on my end.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get the sick kid check going on here, just a heart piece, and I'll go ahead and let you take over the item stuff while I catch up with the tracking here.
Sure, no problem. So yes, we are seeing the back of the tavern on Dr. Marty's side while Jem goes through Chicken Hut. So, very typical just early checks there. I believe that was a hook shot, though, in the back of the tavern. So we are heading out of Kakariko towards the library and then towards race game. So yeah, as we were saying, a lot of really quick checks here early. You're seeing the execution advantages of just, top tier runners being able to just, dash through everything. And we're also seeing some hook speed. So great, to have that hook shot early.
And also quick apology to the viewers. I accidentally was tracking the runners on the opposite side. That will be corrected going forward. If you notice a discrepancy, that's what that was.
So we did get Link's house just now where we did find our first sword. So we are getting very well equipped for the start of this race, 5 minutes in, and we've got a bow, a hook shot, a glove, and a sword. So, Eastern Palace is definitely calling this early. It won't be an in-logic clear, obviously, without a lamp or fire rod, but, for these runners, I would expect no less being able to completely clear that dungeon. In the back of Saha, we have not really anything too helpful right now, and we are getting also a back of escape check from Gem's side.
So how do you feel about Gem doing the back of escape instead of the Eastern, since we found so much that leads us towards Eastern?
So I would say that this is usually a good quick check anyway. This won't get any faster, so it's not a loss of time or a bad idea to do it this early. And we got the Cane of Burna, so not a huge advantage this early, but it's nice little checks. But Dr. Marty is into Eastern Palace. There are 3 items in Eastern, and first up we do find the big key. So for all we know, this dungeon might not have required the lamp for the clear.
I was going to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not technically fully in logic here because the dark rooms do logically require the lantern, even though both of these runners will probably just not worry about that.
Correct. So the vanilla that gives us actually logical Armos access now with that fire rod on the right side. So the way that this works is called advanced logic. And if you are not familiar with advanced logic, if there is a room with a torch in it, you can actually clear that. You can go through that room just by lighting the torch. So it kind of changes some of the logic. Now that's only for Armos. The vanilla big key chest is still technically out of logic without the lamp.
And that is a very interesting thing to know.
So we did get the compass. So at this point, there's going to be a 50-50 shot at least in terms of the item distribution. So as you're seeing, Dr. Marty's actually taking a bit of a safer route here, is going to check that vanilla big key chest before going off to Armos Knights. This is one of those things you'll see a lot of runners kind of discuss or go back and forth on as to whether or not they want to, go straight forward for Armos and gamble that, or still take on the vanilla big key chest. So in this case, Dr. Marty is going for that.
And you're saying that that's kind of the safer route, is going and checking that vanilla big key instead of just heading straight for Armos. Why was that the safer route?
Because then you don't have to come back in if this wasn't. So this time it wasn't the item, unfortunately. So our last item is on Armos Knights. I've seen a lot of runners also say, I'm just going to gamble that it's on Armos, and if that last item was in Vanilla Big Key Chest, maybe I'll come back into the dungeon. Both are valid, ways to play. It's kind of a comfort thing at that point.
And so this early on, are we going to be expecting the runners to be taking many of those risks, or should we really be expecting them to just be kind of a little more conservative and like more thorough in their checks?
I would say, it's not uncommon to kind of just go for it. Like, I personally usually just gamble that 50-50 and hope that the item was on Armos. And, some of the people I frequently play with go with that kind of strategy. But this early, I definitely see why you wouldn't want to skip it. So we are getting, but Gem also went towards the back there for that Vanilla Big Key chest. So
yes, you guys are right on each other's heels at this point.
Yeah. So the only real difference here is just that back of escape check from Gem, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Dr. Marty go right there as well.
Now, do you think Dr. Marty is going to go straight for the back of escape, or do you think Dr. Marty will, because of the sword, go through the front of escape and maybe then loop back around?
So the one problem with that is I did notice that Gem found the small key to escape in the back. So if Dr. Marty does go front of escape first, they will have to still drop into the back for that last check. So the intended logic was that. So we might, either route is fine. They have more than enough weaponry to get through escape from both ends. Even Dark Cross will be in logic here.
Does it also follow the fire rod logic, the advanced one we were talking about?
Yes, correct. The first room right after the throne room, as well as Dark Cross itself, both have torches in them. So yeah, that'll be fine. But we are seeing Dr. Marty head towards Mini Moldorm Cave. So this is, in many respects, kind of a new hype cave. It's got quite the reputation now as being the spot to actually find items early in a seed. So we do get the Bombos medallion, some money, lots of money, silver arrows. So I believe that does put Dr. Marty up over almost to 500 rupees, but there is a rupee cave right near Ice Rod Cave. But as always, I should not speculate on the locations of other runners because Dr. Marty is heading back to check the dam.
I was going to ask about that because typically I see people go Dam, Moldorm, Ice Cave. Why do you think Dr. Marty might have flipped the Dam and the Moldorms?
I can't say for sure on this. It could be heading back to Agina is next. One of the things you'll find is that Agina is kind of not always checked super early in most seeds, but in these open boot seeds, a lot of runners have actually started prioritizing hitting Agina early. You've got a really easy way to get over there. Plus, we do have the book, so this is actually a full clearable dungeon as well.
Oh, that's right, because we do have Fire Source with Fire Rod. I wasn't even thinking about that, so Landmolnas are not long for this world, probably.
Yeah, that'll be a really nice fight. And actually, Dr. Marty's going to have a really big advantage here with those silver arrows.
Because you can one-shot each of the Landmolnas if you hit them as they're coming out, right?
Correct. So, and I would not be surprised, that both of our runners are really skilled with fire or silver arrows for that fight. But we did get a second bottle in that first check of Desert Palace. It had a fairy in it. So nice little safety.
So are you expecting that Jim might use Fire Rod strats for the Landmolnas then?
I would expect it, definitely. Might switch over to some NMG bow strats if they don't get the kills. Because it's 2 Fire Rod shots per Landmolnas. But still a relatively quick kill. So we now have the big key, We still have one more item here in Desert Palace. And as you had marked off, this is one of our 5-6, and there is our Moon Pearl. So we are just a hammer away from Dark World access or the Titan's Mitts. I would expect, though, after this dungeon, I would expect probably Gem's going to go do Mini Moldorm Cave and then probably continue to Ice Rod. And then maybe we get actually a water walk to possibly check Zora.
Oh, that's right, because with the Moon Pearl, they can do the waterfall checks as well, right?
Well, so you can do those checks, but actually water walking is really interesting in the fact that you don't need the Moon Pearl to get into a water walk state. You, from Ice Rod Cave, if you pretty much hit the side of the door as you're running out, it kind of sets up this state where you can just walk on the water, and you can actually walk into the waterfall cave without needing Moon Pearl to get on land, in a sense. Now, the one thing that can happen doing that is if you were to fill up a heart container, it would put you back into a swim state. But, they have the Moon Pearl so they could get back into water walking state.
So what would that cause if they went back into swim state while in the waterfall? Would they have to teleport out?
They'd just have to move out and then go back in. Kind of like you would typically if you were in Fake Flippers.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Marty did get 2 out of the 3 Landmola, and there's the last one. Meanwhile, Gem did set up to have exactly 6 Fire Rod shots, and that was a very clean kill by Gem. So we are pretty much even, almost synchronous kills of Landmo. That's our second crystal. Very quick, 15 minutes, and we're already at 2 crystals each for this race. So we are going to get an Agena check, though. Both of our runners skipped that, and that was a good idea, do that after this dungeon. Because honestly, even running out of Agena's cave is just slow.
So who do you think had the better Landmola's fight there?
So I would say Gems was cleaner. That was a 1 cycle Landmo. And you kind of saw the time pick up there. Like, Gem wasn't far behind in the dungeon, and they were almost like on top of each other at the end. So now we are getting that check from Dr. Marty, though. They're going to check back of escape while Gem heads down for Mini Moldorm Cave. And I expect this will route into an Ice Rod Cave check as well.
So if we do get the water walk, then we're looking at Ice Rod, possibly Hobo into Waterfall and Zora?
Yeah, but Dr. Marty is actually heading towards Dark Cross, interestingly. So, we're going to get that first Key Rat and just head backwards through the sewers. But, this has been a fairly loaded start to the seed. We still don't know what Dark World's going to look like and what we need there. But, already on Silver Arrows, we've got a hook shot. So, and we've got some good safety as well with the magic powder. Dark Cross was just 5 rupees, unfortunately. So we've either looking at Front of Escape or this Ice Rod Cave.
So Dr. Marty went back to Sanctuary instead of Link's house. Where do you think he's Death Mountain maybe?
This might be an out-of-sequence Death Mountain play. Or out-of-logic play up Death Mountain, which isn't too bad. We do have a lot of options. We've got the Old Man. We'll have the inside of Spectacle Rock while also being able to see the top of it. And then we have Paradox and Spiral Cave. Gem, on the other hand, is doing that water walk we were talking about. We're going to get to see Lake Hylia Island was just a full heart container, and Gem is skipping the Hobo. This is pretty normal. Take advantage of that water walk and the extra dashing. So you kind of lose the you'd lose that with Hobo. Zora Waterfall, nothing though today.
Oh, because when you go to the hobo, you climb out of the water and you don't have a way to reset that water walk. Is that the issue there?
Exactly. So Gem, I'm guessing will also. Oh, there's our Ether Medallion on Zora Ledge, and I believe, we will see splash deletion here from Gem.
Can you explain that one a little bit? How that trick works?
So I'm not too keen on it myself. I haven't learned it, but so what you're gonna do is you're gonna see a quick flurry of arrows and then a couple of bombs, and then we're able to just jump in. And so I think, unfortunately, we're just a little too slow there. Yeah, so you get those 2 arrows, a couple of bombs, and then you just jump in the water, and there you go. You have diluted the splash. Yeah. So it's a nice way to kind of break out of those Zora checks.
And what is deleting the splash do? Like, why is that helpful?
So, there's a lot of times when just not, flippers are one of those items you might not find for a while. So you look for ways to break out of having to need them, at least, for this seed, we don't know what we're going to get with like Swamp Palace. But oh wow, Dr. Marty just found a Master Sword and our mirror blue mail as well in Paradox 5. So decent little treasure trove of items.
So far we've had one five item check that was hype, and now there's a second 5 item check that was pretty hype. I'm wondering what this means for actual hype cave.
Meanwhile, Gem is going to check escape. So I think at this point we know there has to be something here.
Was that a flute on Floating Island, or was that bombs? I couldn't quite tell.
I thought it was bombs. It didn't look like something very important to me. I'm thinking we're gonna see a lamp or a flute soon. Never mind. Gem just found the hammer in escape. So that is Dark World access. Gem might not head up the mountain for a while at this point.
So is that going to be to Gem's detriment or advantage to not head up to the mountain, since technically this is out of logic?
So this actually, I think, does not hurt Gem. We're going to see that mountain play eventually. And what could happen is, for all we know, Gem is going to find the Titan's Mitts and be able to do all of Death Mountain in one go.
But how much of an advantage is it for Dr. Marty to have that mirror right now and potentially then find that hammer if Tower of Hera ends up being in time?
So that's going to be the difficulty. I'm not entirely sure yet at this point. We'll have to see if that mirror plays a role yet. We did get a map check. I did notice at least Pod was a pendant. I think that was our green pendant.
And I saw that Misery Mire was the red.
But Dr. Marty is heading into Tower of Hera. So we probably will see another of the one of the newer glitches of this game, or ways around. So we'll likely see what is now known as Herapot. Just requires the hook shot for this. And Dr. Marty is going to go with the bomb setup for this. So we're just going to push ourselves into that pot, hook shot, and then you just go into that pot and you get the fairy. And this allows you to actually skip the basement.
Now, because Dr. Marty has a fire source, is skipping the basement as advantageous as it is whenever you don't have that fire source?
So the one problem here is, we did not get that big key.
And I think Dr. Marty realized that just a moment afterward, too, from the look on his face.
Yeah. So, I don't, this is one of those things that happens. It's a way to skip through this dungeon quicker, but definitely can. Our other pendant was Thieves Town, and our other red crystal is Ice Palace. Just got that map check from Gem. And we are getting Hype Cave. on Gem's side.
There we go, just getting all those marked down real quick.
Unfortunately, that is a very low hype cave today. Really didn't get anything out of it. A bottle with a B is not very hype.
Poor Hype King, just so overused.
Yeah, it is definitely fallen on hard times. Gem is going to head over towards Stumpy as well as the digging game. Dig game will give us anywhere between 1 and 30 digs for that item. Nothing really on Stumpy today. Meanwhile, Dr. Marty is heading towards Escape, so he will have his hammer very shortly.
So, am I correct in thinking there's one more item left in Tower Hera basement?
So the basement will have that big key.
Oh, the big key cannot lock itself in the chest?
Correct.
Okay.
Technically, you do need the big key of Hera to get upstairs. So usually that dungeon has a decent chance of being fire locked. So yeah, Terrapot is a sequence break through this dungeon. So, but it does look like Gem is going to head towards Village of Outcasts next.
So what are your thoughts on the front 4 of Thieves Town checks, if we didn't have the hammer?
I think usually, front 4 of Thieves is almost a given. And I'm wrong. Gem is actually making their way over towards Death Mountain. So no real advantage gained there by either runner. They're pretty much just going over each other's steps at this point.
And this is rather fascinating to see, the fact that both of these runners are kind of, with the caveat of flipping a couple of checks, like almost thinking about this seed in the exact same way.
Yeah, I personally would have. I don't know if I would have done the same, but I'm not in the tournament, so what does that say? But there's some argument to be made for kind of limiting your time on Death Mountain. Each climb of the mountain is at least a couple of minutes, so if one of our runners had waited a little bit longer and maybe had those Titan's mitts, we might have been able to get more out of it. But at the same time, there is a lot of checks up here, and there is a crystal dungeon that can be cleared.
Yeah, that is the Tower of Hera.
Right. So Dr. Marty is actually going to be our first runner to check out the Village of Outcasts. And also, we'll have the ability to clear Skull Woods.
So do you think that because he also has the book, Dr. Marty might go for the full clear Skull Woods pedestal check just to completely, get that information before he continues on?
This early, I think you still want to check it. Looking at our pendant dungeons, Pod's clearable, Thieves is clearable. Oh wait, sorry. Sorry. Pod is clearable. I thought I said different ones are actually our pendant and crystals.
Oh, you know what? I might have gotten that flipped then. Was Thieves the pendant?
Yeah, I thought Thieves was actually a pendant dungeon this round. And it
okay,
was,
so
Ice was our 5-6.
Oh, okay, yep, that's what I got mixed up.
So, but looking at, those dungeons, Fire and Thieves and Pod as pendant dungeons, we're we're not really too far from being able to clear them.
So that actually brings up another question that I have found to be a little contentious within the community is how do you feel about full clearing pendant thieves?
It's one of those dungeons that you almost are bound to feel bad either way. I feel like, that's one of those dungeons you go in and you find nothing in the front four, there's something in the back. You go in and you find something great and you decide to still bail and there was another thing. Or you go in and you full clear it first time and there was absolutely nothing. It is definitely a dungeon that does not assist you in feeling good about your decisions.
Well, at the very least, we're kind of lucky in that at least it's not the green pendant, so we don't have quite as much, kind of pressure to clear it. So maybe we'll get out lucky.
Exactly. And, Pod being our green pendant in this race, it's already a loaded dungeon to begin with, but you've got to do all that work in the front. So not always going to be one of those dungeons. Skipping pendant Pod is not a good idea. Meanwhile, Gem also doing Harapot, a little different of a setup, using the hook dash speed to kind of set that up.
It's really nice to see these runners do similar things, but in different ways to kind of show off all the different tech we have. And Jim will remember that they do not have big keys, so that's at least one little bit of time saved there.
Meanwhile, Dr. Marty is heading towards our vanilla big key chest. Unfortunately, just a small key this time. There are only 2 items in Skullwoods, so you don't expect too much. But Skull at the same time is one of those dungeons that very frequently has some kind of progression. Gem is using Master Sword spins for that Moldorm kill. Just 3 spins, takes down Moldorm. And one of the things I did not notice actually when Marty cleared Hera was that we actually don't have any other items in Hera. We did get both of the items. It was a full heart container and a heart piece. So there is nothing else in Hera. So
that is good to know they're not going to have to go back to that basement.
Yeah. But Dr. Marty did just clear up our Skull Woods, so we are heading out and going to head into the Village of Outcasts. Now, the one thing on Gem's side that we're actually going to be able to get is Gem has Hammer as well as an invincibility item, so we are going to get Spike Cave.
And Half Magic was on Bunker Ledge up there.
Very nice find. Unfortunately, no cape for us today yet.
That was a very big find.
Nothing on Lumberjack. And yes, Titan's Mitts on the mountain in Spike Cave. Oh my gosh, that is huge. And Gem is going to go right for some of our other our Dark Death Mountain checks, as well as finding out about our Turtle Rock medallion today. So we're going to get the 2 checks in Super Bunny, as well as those checks in Hookshot Cave. So Gem is climbing the mountain and will hit up opening, or trying to open at least, and checking all those Turtle Rock checks.
So for Dr. Marty O, that's obviously going to be a little bit of a setback because there's nothing really compelling getting him to go back up for Spike Cave. But as long as Dr. Marty is continuing to do dungeons and complete checks, he's not really falling that far behind, is he?
Not much. The big issue here is, will Gem find items that can steer him away from pendant dungeons right now? Because what we're probably going to see is, I would expect Dr. Marty to kind of start checking a lot of, I'm expecting Thieves and Pod to come up for Dr. Marty at this point, just because there are 2 dungeons that can be cleared. But meanwhile, Gem can kind of focus more on crystal dungeons and keep to that. especially given we just got our flute in Hookshot Cave as well as Quake Medallion. So it doesn't matter what our medallion situation is. We did have Ether was the required medallion for Turtle Rock, so that play of the splash deletion on Zora's Ledge did actually pay out nicely for Gem. And in Super Bunny, we did get red mail. But that will conclude Gem's check of Dark Death Mountain. That is everything on the mountain at this point. We can't really do anything with Turtle Rock without the Cane of Samaria. So we likely will not see a check of Turtle Rock for a while.
And I'm having a brief problem with the tracker. I am clicking the buttons, but it's not quite responding. So I will get those updated as soon as it starts responding again.
So, but here's what we were kind of saying, Dr. Marty is heading into Thieves Town. There's a route to be taken here through Dark World and kind of working through all these checks, but without, because they don't have a Titan's Mitt at this point, those checks are not going to be front of mind. But Dr. Marty is leaving Thieves Town after doing that front four. We didn't really get anything to move the seed forward. I mean, those Titan's Mitts will be the kind of big block for a bit. But we do have our Ice Rod in the chest game.
And I do notice that, or rather, I'm realizing that Dr. Marty didn't go do that pedestal check while he was back in Skull Woods.
And I think that will, work out in a sense at this point. Because I think the only item we actually need for these two runners for Go mode is Arcane of Samaria. Or no mode, I guess you would say at this point. And Flippers, sorry. But
oh, yeah, that's true, because we do need Swamp. And I think I've got everything updated on the tracker.
Yes. Yep, tracker looks good. Dr. Marty is going to check out Magic Bat now. And there's our lamp. So we will see dark rooms from now on. If you didn't like the dark, we do have options. But I would expect, both of our runners are capable of doing that without worrying about that. So.
Okay, so let's think about that logic for a moment. Where was that powder? We found that in Kakariko Village in the well. So we were supposed to, according to the logic of the seed, go Kakariko Village, get the powder, do the rest of the checks, find the hammer and escape, then go do Magic Bat before we headed up that mountain.
Yes.
It is a good thing we could skip those dark rooms.
Exactly. And that's one of those things, when you start learning Link to the Past Randomizer, there's a lot of little things, but first, one of the cool things to start working on is knowing a few of your dark rooms. At this level, most our runners should feel comfortable in pretty much all of the dark rooms, but some of your more basic ones definitely are great to know this early. So, a Death Mountain climb especially can help out.
So if somebody was interested in picking up the Link to the Past Randomizer and getting involved in stuff like this, what do you think is the most important early trick for them to work on?
I don't know if it's a trick really that kind of gets people started. So much as just playing. You visit the Discords for this community, and there's just such a welcoming presence across the board that you could go into the Discord and say, hey, I want to try my first seed, and people will be like, oh, do these settings, or here's what I would recommend to start with. And you get stuck, that's fine. Ask and you shall get information. People are more than willing to kind of help out and give you some ideas as to what you might be missing. but we are going to get a Bombos tablet check just for a piece of heart. And we did get a pedestal check from Gem, also just a piece of heart.
Now, the other advantage I was thinking about that Gem's going to have in the Kakariko is that if Gem wants to, he'll be able to do the Smith chain since he has those Titan Smiths.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see Gem make those checks. There's an argument to be made for maybe doing the Meyer area, but I think, we've got Ice Palace still that we could full clear, and with Ice being other 5/6, we might actually get that check as well. Instead, a lot of runners will say that if you have the ability to clear a dungeon, you clear a dungeon. Overworld is not bringing you towards that final goal. But Gem is heading towards the Mire area. I don't imagine we're going to get a Misery Mire check, because it's only 2 items and it is a very slow dungeon. But I think we are going to get at least the Shed and Checkerboard Cave.
So which dungeon? Because you were mentioning we have. Never mind. There's the King of Samaria. Wow, it is coming up all again.
Yeah, Gem just needs to head back to Village of Outcasts and go get that Ice Rod. And we still need the flippers. I keep on forgetting flippers are hugely important here.
So the only thing that flippers are actually blocking is Swamp Palace, because we could do a fake flipper to get into Ice Palace, correct?
Correct. Now, the thing that kind of works, when Gem finds the Ice Rod, and I think it looks like Gem's heading there right now, once Gem gets the Ice Rod, Gem knows that Ice Palace is a go-modable dungeon, that they do not have to check anything and really can just go kill Cold Stare, because we know the flippers cannot be there.
So do you think that he'll be heading for that?
I think at this point might continue to try to find flippers. We did get a mushroom check from Dr. Marty. Unfortunately, it was just a single rupee. And we are going to get at least a front 4, maybe? We're going to get the front 4 check out of Thieves Town as well for Gem. But we did get that Ice Rod on Gem's side, so at this point we are still just worried about flippers. As Dr. Marty heads up to Quakefish. Unfortunately missed on that first toss, but what does our Quakefish have today? Hey, Tempered Sword. That is actually a nice little boost. There is definitely a better than likely chance that Gem might not head back for Quakefish, depending on where those flippers are.
So are we seeing... Dr. Marty also doing that Ancilla glitch you were talking about earlier?
Exactly. So now this is where that Moon Pearl comes into play, having to go in, go out, and go back in to set up walking. So, but as we said, that's one of those extra skills that really does help save time. Gem did bail on Thieves Town also after doing just the front 4. Can't blame anybody for just doing front 4 Thieves independent situation, especially given how much we have available in terms of actual dungeons.
So Gem has the mirror equipped still. I'm wondering if this means Smith Chain is happening.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. There's definitely, let's turn in Jeremiah, let's check the hammer pegs, let's grab that purple chest as we head towards K45. We are getting another splash deletion from Dr. Marty. So they will have their Ether Medallion.
Smith just making bombs today.
But as we said, this is really a question of when is Dr. Marty going to head back up the mountain and hit Spike Cave? And unfortunately, that is an orphaned check.
And honestly, the longer he goes, the more Jem is just going to be able to be go-moding all the dungeons that Dr. Marty is going to have to be checking just to try to find those mitts and flippers.
Yeah, it looks like Marty is heading towards Pod, which is definitely the densest of our pendant dungeons. So hopefully this hopefully this yields something. But at the same time, if our flippers are in here, I wouldn't be surprised to see Dr. Marty do a full clear of Swamp Palace in hopes of finding Titan's Mitts or Red Cane or Flute. Like, Dr. Marty is missing a lot of items right now that there's just not a... they're pretty much all locked behind that Titan's Mitt find in Spike Cave. And we are not really limited in terms of options.
And really, I almost want to say heartbreaking thing about what's going on right now is you can't really say that Dr. Marty necessarily did anything incorrectly. Like, the checks that they made were good checks.
Exactly. You go up the mountain and with hookshot, you can pretty much do everything. Find the mirror and you can go do Hera. So there's not even a reason to have to worry about going back to Hera at that point.
I think it all came down to the fact that Dr. Marty did not do Escape before Death Mountain, so did not have the hammer. So Spike Cave wasn't even an option for Dr. Marty, whereas Jem having that hammer was like, well, okay, I'm here, I might as well get it. And it turned out to be the key piece, right?
Exactly. On Jem's side, we did get that purple chest check. Just the fire shield there. You might have noticed Jem left behind that purple chest. As long as you are in Dark World and don't mirror until you're actually fairly close to Gary to deliver his lunchbox, you can still deliver it even though you left it behind. So nice little cool way to utilize those boots.
So yeah, that is a really, really cool little trick.
Jem is heading into Pod, though, it looks like. So knowing that Jem is just flippers away, and I think reasonably Jem is saying, I don't want to go into TR. I don't want to have to climb the mountain a second time just for flippers. Let's hopefully avoid it. So I think Jem is playing a little bit safer here.
That does make sense because although is Turtle Rock fully clearable at this point? I guess you want to go Turtle Rock into Ganon's Tower is the thinking for not doing it?
Exactly. If we can get that down to only needing to reclimb the mountain one more time just to clear TR and then go into GT, that's great. But unfortunately, there is a decent likelihood... Oh, wait. Sorry. No. I am completely wrong. Jem is actually playing this logic very, very nicely. Flippers can't be in TR. Our Ether Medallion was flipper locked. So...
Oh, that is correct. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's a good point. So we know they can't be in Turtle Rock. We know they can't be in Ice Rod. So yeah, it's looking like this is the best place to go. Good call.
Yeah, so at this point, it's gonna be Pod or Thieves has those flippers, and worst
Could it be Meyer?
I didn't get a look at the Meyer medallion, unfortunately. So I'm not entirely sure at this point.
Yeah, I don't believe he checked it either.
It was just off screen, and it's one of those things that I just did not notice that first time up. But we are getting some dueling pods right now. But Dr. Marty has finished up doing all their checks of pods, so they're now heading towards the back.
And because this is Green Pendant, do you think they're going to clear it just in case to make that the Shahashala check?
Of course, that extra item always adds value to this dungeon. So we will get that Saha check.
What just happened there with the run over the red blocks? I've never seen that before.
I've been seeing it more and more frequently. I have not learned that one myself. I know there's some ways, like with boots and I think Cane of Samaria, to kind of like push yourself through some walls. I believe it's like you see that frequently now in Pod as well as Mire. Unfortunately, I don't know it. It's definitely something I'm interested in learning sometime, but yeah, nice little time saves.
Yeah, that is literally the first time I'd ever seen it. So I'm interested in that one as well.
I mean, the big thing, you know, we're talking about this being a Group I matchup and what the records were entering this match. Gem is 3-0, while Dr. Marty is 2-1. So this is their last matches in group play for now. And I don't have all the statistics in front of me from the qualifiers, but Gem, I believe, was the top, if not, well, was one of the top, if not the top qualifier through the qualifying rounds. So, you know, you're seeing a lot of what made that possible. You know, all these little execution things are really shaking out nicely. And was that our flippers?
That looked like flippers, yes.
So that will be go mode for Gem. Now, as we said, this means Gem will likely be running on Master Sword for the rest of the seed. Luckily, we do have Silver Arrows, so that's a nice little bonus. But also likely will not be we're not going to see half magic either.
Yeah, as we have no cape, I don't think anyone's going to be looking for that. Even if they find the cape, they're probably not going to take the time to go get that.
Nothing on Saha, which isn't too surprising at this point. We know there's very little left to truly find in this seed. You know, we can find the cape. I believe we have a red meringue kind of out in the world, and a shovel and a bug net, but not much we haven't found. And this is the play for Dr. Marty at this point. You know, we kind of assumed this was going to be the case. You know, we find those flippers. Next choice is clearable crystal at Swamp Palace.
So what's the time difference in go mode Swamp Palace versus full clear Swamp Palace because we're looking for that cane?
So for it depends. So in this case, we do have the ability to you know, we can use Diver Down to get to left side. So it depends really, you know, is Marty going to check left side swamp? And that really comes down to what items we find. At the same time, like, you know, when Gem heads into Swamp Palace, we're not going to see probably the bottom of the wall. We're not going to see the U-turn room to the south of the main hub. We're not going to see left side. But I would imagine we're still going to see like Diver Down room, as well as the sunken chests for the or sorry, we're going to see Diver Down, which is the sunken chest, as well as the waterfall room.
Yes,
So
yeah,
we're still gonna get
switch.
yeah. Gem's going to be hoping for a sword in one of the in the way checks. So
And
like,
we can even find the sword again in its tower, couldn't we?
yeah. So we don't know where that fourth sword is at this point. So there is a chance that Gem finds it. Gem is hitting Ice Palace first, though. So this will be another one of those newer glitches. Diver Down, which completely breaks Ice Palace. You know, a lot of people... that one of the first glitches a lot of people talk about is Ice Palace Bomb Jump. Well, now... Icebreaker is the more common way of getting through this. So we're just going to flip that switch. to kind of set ourselves up. And Dr. Marty is skipping left side for now. We'll see if they have to come back in though later. So just
How many
that.
items are we looking for out of swamp, by the way?
Is it 5 or 6? We are getting diver down. Very, very cleanly done with the bomb. There is a bomb setup for that, as well as a cane setup.
And Dr. Marty was not happy with that big key being back here in the back.
Yeah, so we're now finding, I think we were pretty good so far on the front of Swamp Palace with finding items instead of dungeon items. But that does say, at least in the big chest or on the left side, we're going to see an item. So the question is, do you want to go back in? And the big issue, as we've said, for Dr. Marty is Titan's Mitts opens and closes so much for them.
And the other thing that we kind of hadn't really discussed as much is that Cane of Samaria being over in Mire is yet another semi-orphan check. It's not really orphan, but it's definitely out of the way since Mire is a pendant.
Well, and at least, that is completely locked by our mitts as well, and the flute. So, I would expect there's a decent chance that when Dr. Marty heads up to Death Mountain for that Spike Cave check, we will very shortly see a run for, the other Dark Death Mountain checks. And there we go. Down goes Cold Stare as well. Dr. Marty is heading back into Swamp Palace. But Gem is just going to keep motoring right along here. We didn't get anything too beneficial out of ice. As you saw, Gem did check at least a few chests to see if maybe we could have found a tempered sword. But unfortunately, no dice this time.
And in this situation, it's looking like Gem's lead is going to be significant enough that even having to use spins on Ganon, he'll still be able to kind of, get it through with a decent amount of time left.
Exactly. This is all about, the ability to go mode these dungeons. There is no need to, do extra checks. Those Titan's Mitts are huge at this point. But we are going to get some left side of swamp. Unfortunately, because we didn't do left side swamp earlier, we can't do diver down setup because that does require that small key. But we will get to see what's there because there was nothing in that big chest.
And it looks like Gem is going to be heading into our swamp as well. Of course, go moding it here, probably going to skip most of the things that, like you were saying, skipping the bomb wall and such.
Yeah, I mean, the bombable wall might have a reason to check. Like, it's a fairly quick one, but I can't imagine we're going to see Gem do that. I think, Gem is going to skip as much as possible. I think we are just going to get the diver down in the waterfall chest. If the chest, pretty much operating principle is, if the chest is in my way, I'm going to check it.
Oh, and unfortunately, Dr. Marty picks up a fetch quest. That is going to probably push him even further away.
What was that? Our shovel? I had turned away.
Yeah, I picked up the shovel.
Luckily, our shovel is close at this point. We're right there for shovel, for dig spot. So that's not the worst find,
and
or the worst moment to find it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, not having the flute means that heading up to Death Mountain is just kind of a problem, unless he uses a save and quit. But I just don't know when would be a good time to do that, considering that there's all these other checks he can do.
Yeah, if I'm in, for Dr. Marty right now, I think the concern is we might see a Thieves Town check soon. Although I don't know where Dr. Marty's going right now.
You can't do pyramid because he doesn't have the. Is he gonna fake flipper to Ice Palace?
No,
Oh
we
no, he
have.
has flipper. He's not fake flipper.
We didn't get a hobo check, so it could be hobo as well. Or did we? I don't think we actually.
No, I don't think
hobo.
either runner checked the hobo at all. They both skipped it if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so Dr. Marty is going to check hobo. Just knocking out as much as they can at this point. Unfortunately, I don't see much of a way around the fact that we're locked by myths. Meanwhile, Gem is fighting Argus. Now, Dr. Marty did have an advantage here. With Tempered Sword, you can actually get Puffs. Single slash of the Tempered Sword will kill a Puff. So Gem is having to go with 2 slashes. Meanwhile, Dr. Marty did find our bug net on the hobo.
Oh, I was hoping that was going to be the point where Dr. Marty was going to go, well, I'll go check Spike Cave while I'm, since I'm saving and quitting anyways. But no, it looks like you might be heading down to Ice Palace at this point.
Ice Rod Cave, I think, is actually the play now for Dr. Marty. So this is that, that one skip that was made earlier.
Which I'm sure he would feel absolutely terrible about if it did contain the Cane or the Titan's Mitts. But when he finds nothing, I mean, that's not going to be good or bad. It's going to leave him in the same position, right?
Yeah, at this point, I think the only 2 other places Dr. Marty has are Thieves Town and Spike Cave.
And meanwhile, we have Jim heading up for Turtle Rock, and it's going to be Turtle Rock into Ganon's Tower onto, the Pig Fry.
Exactly. Okay, so Dr. Marty is now on Death Mountain. This looks to be a Spike Cave check incoming. And I can't imagine Dr. Marty's going to be too happy with this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much face palm do you think we're going to see with this? And like I said, it's not even his fault. I mean, it was just the ordering of the checks.
That's the thing, you play the seed and you make the checks you can. And unfortunately, in this case, that first trip up the mountain did not have a reasonable way to check this.
Yep. Not happy.
No, definitely one of those moments where you really feel for a runner because Dr. Marty has played really well in this seed. Throughout that early game, we saw pretty much the 2 of these runners were step for step with each other.
I mean, if nothing else, just watching Dr. Marty pull off those Ansela splash deletions, that was just, smooth.
Exactly. So, unfortunately, Dr. Marty is heading immediately for Ice Palace, which I can't blame him for doing.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a dungeon you can clear. In Gem's case, it kind of worked out that, Gem was like, well, I don't have flippers, so there's no reason to go to ice.
Yeah, and so that Candace Mars is not going to be there, which means that Dr. Marty's going to take a good bit of time to get this one done, because he's going to have to go around it kind of the vanilla way, right? I mean, the bomb skip is about the only one he can do, right?
Yeah, so we will see the classic Ice Palace bomb jump from Dr. Marty.
Oh, and he's going to have to check all the chests because he's looking for that Candace Mario.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, there is quite the chain here that we need to go back up the mountain.
Yeah, because the flute in Hookshot Cave, meaning he couldn't even have done the Meyer check.
Yeah. So, this was definitely a seed where you had a lot of options to begin with, and have just slowed down a little bit. And there's just that very pretty linear set of things you had to do. Meanwhile, for Gem over in Turtle Rock, we are going to see Gem steal that key off the Pokey. We will not see a Lava Island check.
The lava island is the vanilla big key location, isn't it?
Oh, what was it? No.
No, I'm asking if it is.
Oh, yeah, that is the vanilla big key location.
And I'm sure we're not going to get a mimic cave check either. Do you think he's going to go and look at the laser bridge just to see if he can find that sword, or at this point do you think he's just going to rush through without worrying about it?
So Jem is going through the back door to check the big chest. So we might see at least a check or two of laser bridge, and it really does come down to, do we find a key before then? Okay, so Jem does have enough keys to just go through TR at this point. I don't know, to be honest. I think we might see... We'll see Crystal Roller Room, but I don't think we're going to see Laser Bridge at this point. I think Jem's just going to say, I'm going for it.
So
and I'm even wrong about that.
No, yeah.
We are not going to see Crystal Roller.
Interesting. So I was going to ask about it. How hard is it to do Ganon with just Master Sword and without half magic?
So the half magic thing isn't really a big deal. At this level of runners, it's a lot slower. We're talking 12 spins of Master Sword for each phase, or for phases 1 and 2. So there's definitely a lot of... It's going to be slow. But runners of this caliber, I don't think it's going to be too rough for them.
And here's so our Trinex fight.
Yeah, Trinex fight, and we're going to get Hammer Trinex. This is... I was once asked by a friend, why do you switch to Hammer? Because it is a lot more damage than Master Sword. Unfortunately, Hammer is Master Sword's just a little too slow for this fight. Jem's just gonna have to be a little careful with the magic.
I was gonna ask about that. Like, can you even kill Trinex? Like, do you have enough magic to even kill Trinex with the Master Sword alone, or would you run out?
I have not tried. I think it's possible. It's just, you got to be very accurate. The accuracy issue is the biggest. But we got some very, very clean hits with the hammer for that fight on Trinex. And that will be our 7th crystal. So Jem will be heading towards Ganon's Tower. So for Ganon's Tower, there are 22 locations in that basement that we may find the big key. Where do you think we're going to find that big key tonight?
I always go for check number 7 myself, which I've been told is the 4th chest in the Stalfos room. Through traditional routing, anyways.
Yeah, so this is the other piece a lot of runners will talk about is, what order do you do these? So we'll commonly see, hey, does a runner check those left side first? Do you go and do Hope Room on the right side? I usually would say, I'm a traditional Hope Room to left side. So Jem is checking Hope Room first.
And so even if we do find that key, the big key in the first chest, we're still not clear to run the whole dungeon, right? Like, we still need 1 or 2 small keys? I can't remember quite.
Yeah, so we need at least 1 key. Jem did get a small key in the Hope Room, so we're actually going to see a bit of a safer strategy in terms of GT routing. Jem is going to go to right side first. Yeah, so the whole idea here is that if you find a small key, you go right side just because if you go full left, you're kind of orphaning these checks in this room. So this can be a good way to kind of just be safe about it. Unfortunately, nothing in that compass room. Jem will pick up the key here. and is mirroring. So instead of doing full right side, we're just going to get over to compass room and then switch over to the left side. Hey,
Oh, and
there's our
our
cake. So we were definitely not finding half, or not being able to pick up that half magic today. So here goes the Stalfos room. We got those 4 checks here.
And still no big key.
Yeah, that was our 11th check so far in GT, and still no big key.
I'm glad you were keeping track because I totally lost count.
Yeah, I always have to recount it in my head. We are getting some very nice blue boomerang strats for this room, or for these 2 rooms. Very clean.
And we did manage to find the flute and the medallions. We have all the medallions over there for Dr. Marty.
So now we just need to see Dr. Marty head over to Meyer's shed, and he will also be in go mode.
And it's actually really interesting because Dr. Marty in go mode is just Ice Palace, Turtle Rock, that's it. So while he is behind, I mean, very clearly.
Actually, Dr. Marty did clear Ice Palace, I believe.
Oh, you're right, he did. I didn't mark it. So it's just Turtle Rock, actually.
Yeah.
And he has the Temper Sword. I don't know if the Temper Sword advantage will be enough to get him through because he'll be able to kill Trinex a little faster. But
unfortunately, any hope for that advantage also kind of just went away as Gem did find Tempered Sword in the randomizer room.
Oh, and that's going to be interesting. But we still have not found Big Key, correct?
Correct. So we are heading towards our Ice Armos. Dr. Marty is heading towards the Meyer shed. So Dr. Marty will be in go mode momentarily.
And there's the big key right above Ice Armos.
Yes, so that was number 18, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see, 22, Ice Armos had 3, and then the big chest. Yeah, that was 22 because we only had 4 checks left.
Yeah, we had those 3 behind Ice Armos and Tile Room as the only options. So.
Oh yeah, Tile Room, not Big Key, because you obviously can't get Big Chest without Big Key. I don't know what I was talking about.
It happens, believe me. It's one of those checks we don't see a lot of. Usually don't see that unless we're dealing with a key mode or some kind of entrance mode.
Yeah, and I have been watching a lot of cross keys recently, so that kind of makes sense there for me.
Yeah, I believe we just finished that tournament up not too long ago, so yes, everybody saw a lot of great cross keys action recently.
And go ahead.
Meanwhile, Gem is heading up. We are seeing the Gauntlet now. These are just 5 rooms. So Gauntlet 1, very nicely done. Gauntlet 2, we get those 3 red Stalfos. As Dr. Marty is now heading into Turtle Rock, going to open that up.
So I'm predicting at this point that we're probably going to have Dr. Marty is probably going to be in Ganon's tower, barring, catastrophe for Jim. Probably going to be in Ganon's tower when Jim finishes this up. So the distance between the 2 runners is not that great.
No, Dr. Marty did a really great job, going through all those checks throughout, even, having to... Like we were saying, the Mitts locked a lot of the seeds, so there wasn't too many things that Dr. Marty was going to get caught doing until then. It's just unfortunate that was kind of the big decider here.
And would you say that that time difference is going to come down to the difference in the go mode swamp, go mode ice palace versus the full clear swamp and then slower run around in ice palace?
So that'll definitely contribute to some of it, but at the same time, there's a lot of other things that you can also see, like Titan's Mitts did allow for some extra checks in certain directions, like just a lot of little things throughout a seed where, Gem was able to go into Village of Outcasts a certain way. You know, in addition to like the dungeons that Gem was able to go mode. Swamp and Ice especially are just that much quicker.
Yeah, and one of the things that I guess was a little in Dr. Marty's favor was he didn't have to do, say, the Smith chain. However, doing that Smith chain kind of put Gem over towards Desert, and then just ended up routing in all of those other checks, right?
Exactly. Gem left the Desert and left Village of Outcasts with those purple, the Smith chain. So it was very simple to kind of just proceed with the advantage in a sense. That's one of those big things that you don't always consider it. Like, you route the best you can throughout. But there's little things like that where you just get that item that kind of allows for a more convenient route. And in this case, you're seeing it.
And then Jim got a double, and then unfortunately got hated out by Blue Balls to get that third double. So did have to go 4 rounds with Agadem up there. But Agadem's down, and we're on again.
Dr. Marty is skipping the big key or the big chest of TR, so this could be a problem. There is a rare situation where a small key was on Lava Island, and we do know there was a small key in the big chest. So it's very possible there wasn't a key. We did find the red boomerang, though.
Such a wonderful place for that. Very useful.
Meanwhile, Gem has dropped into our Ganon fight. So I'm going to see... Yep, here we go. Gem is setting up to get that 1-in-1. And it looks like Gem did get through phase 1 there and is on to phase 2. So just 12 slashes. Very nicely done here on phase 2 as well. So we are going to see that 1-in-1. Only one set of that one trident throw and one fire bat. So really nicely done. The big thing for that is learning how to get that spin off the trident, off the initial throw. If you can get that, it's actually, very possible to pull that off. So now we're just going through phase 3. That is the last slash for phase 3. Yes, we do have those silver arrows. We just need 4 of those, and this fight will be over. Not worrying about that torch glitch, but this should set up for at least a double. Nope, we got a triple, so very nicely done by Gem there. And all Gem has to do is cross that 1x3 bridge. And so get those GGs in chat as Gem will be finishing up. Gem is across the bridge and has finished with a racetime.gg time of 1:16:21. GG to Gem. And at the same time, Dr. Marty is finishing up the Trinex fight. So just about a GT and Ganon fight behind. So for, how tough that Mitts placement was, not too bad. We did see a much different fight of Trinex for Dr. Marty there. When you get that tempered sword, you can get the quick kill there. So that was a nice kill on Trinex.
And I'm going to see if we are going to be doing our interview at the end here. One moment.
Meanwhile, Dr. Marty is heading over to Ganon's Tower. We'll see what route they take through that. But I do expect there's a better than decent chance Dr. Marty will find that gold sword. unless they go either full right. Well, unless they go full right, really.
Okay, and we have Fiesel getting us set up so that we can invite Jim in for an interview here and talk a little bit about the seed with him. Bear with us for a moment while we watch Dr. Marty do some more clean writing up through Ganon's tower. See how quickly he can figure out where that big key is.
And we are actually seeing Dr. Marty also go right side after getting that small key. So, as I was saying earlier, this is kind of the safer route through GT. You get that small key, you want to hit this room. We do lose some time in the short term, but long term over many races, if you go that full left side and don't find big key and it was in here, you lost a lot of time.
And we did send our invite to Jim, so we're just seeing if he wants to join us here, and we'll see what we can get going on there.
Now, Dr. Marty did skip grabbing that small key after the teleport.
Now, how much would that actually hurt him here if the race was still like kind of in contention here? How much would skipping that small key hurt? And it looks like Jim cannot join us for an interview here, so we'll see what's going on with Dr. Marty when he finishes, and then we'll go from there.
So in terms of those keys, it doesn't matter. We have plenty of keys. The way it works really is you want at least one key when you begin your climb of GT. There is always a second key in the mini Helma room. One of those Helmas will drop a small key. So as long as you've got one, you are very safe for that climb. So in this case, I think we are more than okay for keys. But we have seen in other races where that can make a difference. A runner starts climbing GT with no keys and then is praying to find a key elsewhere.
So one thing that I'm interested in here, because I've noticed it happen a lot with this, the basement of Ganon's tower is basically a big circle, right? Like you can go down one side and come back out the other.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of runners go full right side, but if you continue past that small key on the right side, it will bring you to the same room right before the drop down for Ice Armos.
So I was going to ask about that. Why is it that since you were going that far into right side, why wouldn't you just go all the way to Ice Armos?
Because it's Rando Room. Rando Room, there's density to that left side now. You got the 4 checks in Rando Room, so you want to hit that. If you go full right and then have to go to Rando Room for it, it's not great of a feeling.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So Dr. Marty did get that gold sword and is about to get big key.
And we're expecting a really, really clean gauntlet here from Dr. Marty also.
Exactly. Dr. Marty did switch actually to plain arrows for that first shot there. I'm wondering, and they're going to switch back. Interesting. Very cool little lag manipulation there.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that just to reduce the sprite so that there's no lag going through that room?
Yeah, silver arrows do actually generate a little bit of lag when you fire them. That extra damage is nice, but they are slower. So nice little showing of some alternate ways of getting through rooms. We are seeing a lot of great tech from our runners here, so make sure to give both Dr. Marty 0 and Gem follows for putting on a great race. But Dr. Marty is now in the gauntlet, once again switching over to those wooden arrows.
Yeah, you can definitely tell the lag in this
Yeah.
room with all those Stalfos on the board there. So talk to me real quick about what this means for the bracket going. So this was both of their last game in group, correct?
Correct. So this actually will mean that Gem is going to be 4-0, while Dr. Marty is going to be 2-2. Now, the important thing here, and I'm not a tournament admin, but I believe this means that we will have a tie for second place in this division, guaranteed. The other runners in this group are In the Name of DT, who's at 2-2. Spleeby is 1-2, and Oro is 0-3 right now. So, yes, there will be a tiebreaker between at least Dr. Marty and In the Name of DT, and it looks like Spleeby and Oro have a match to play. So there is a chance for a three-way tie in this group for second place right now.
And so is it just the top two from each group go on to the not group stage, but to the bracket stage?
Correct. So top two runners from this group will move on to brackets. Right now, we do know that one of those runners will be Gem. And then we're just going to be looking to see
no,
Dr. Marty
dismissed the torch.
Yep. That's unfortunate. But yeah, so we will see we'll definitely be seeing at least a two-way tiebreaker with a possible third runner involved, depending on how that last match of the group stage goes here. So, and I do not know when those are scheduled for, unfortunately. So definitely, stay tuned for that kind of stuff. Should be really interesting, especially because I believe a lot of groups are kind of coming to this point. So there we go. There's that small key grab from the mini Helma.
Clean spike dodged.
And Dr. Marty's not even going to bother with powdering the anti-fairy or the bunny beam for the health at this point. Down goes Moldorm 2. We will not know the last possession, unfortunately. I don't think there's anything we really didn't find in this seed. We did find all of our shields. We found all of our mail upgrades.
All the boomerangs as well. Could be the fourth bottle. I think we only found 3.
Yeah, I think we only found 3 bottles. But yeah, that's the only thing that we don't know its location at this point. As Dr. Marty does enter AGA 2 for a little bit of a geometry test. Unfortunately, that third pattern was not great for either of them, but Dr. Marty did get a triple on that first phase. So still also a four cycle AGA 2 for Dr. Marty.
Yeah, and you could tell Dr. Marty was not super happy with that AGA fight there, getting a little bit of the fist clinch.
Yeah, that was a rough third pattern. When you start learning how to get through this game, even very seasoned runners can still get tripped up by a bad AGA 2 pattern. There's just so many ways those 3 shots can come at you, and the timing can change just so drastically that you're going to have occasional ones where that happens.
What's the big time difference between the tempered sword and the golden sword in this Ganon fight?
So if you can actually do the 1-in-1 that Gem did with the trident spin, none. Because the amount of time you spend in those phases doesn't actually improve. And if it was silverless, there still wouldn't be a change because it's still going to be the same number of spins between tempered and gold sword for phase 4. So the only real question is that if you're unable to pull off that 1-in-1 reliably, gold sword does make the 1-in-1 a lot more reasonable for most runners. Meanwhile, we are in phase 4 for Dr. Marty, and there is our 4th silver arrow. So down goes Ganon. So get those GGs in the chat for Dr. Marty 0, who just needs to cross that bridge and will have completed the seed. And Dr. Marty's across and has completed the race with an official racetime.gg time of 1:28:07. Once again, GG's to Dr. Marty 0.
And we'll see if he's able to join us in here, and if not, then just say that was a really good race to behold. I mean, both those runners did just an absolutely amazing job.
Exactly.
The tips on this were great.
So I am just looking over some of the chat between the two runners after they finished it up. You know, they are kind of confirming some of the things we saw in this race was how much that mitts really did make a difference. You know, some of the other checks that each of them made or did not make that kind of led to what we saw here. So yes, and Dr. Marty in that chat is confirming, you know, they will be at least in a tiebreaker with themselves and DT. And then, yeah, it comes down to Spleeby at this point versus Oro to decide if it's going to be a 3-way tie. But, you know, very nicely executed race from both of our runners, you know, sub 130s for both of them. You know, you're going to find that a lot with these open boots races. You saw it with qualifying, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers have seen it throughout this group stage. You know, boots really give you a solid, you know, it shows the execution advantage of these top tier runners throughout and just how much of a difference it makes when you can do these lines through all the areas.
And I think that we only really saw one slip the entire time, and that was just that first initial Kakariko when Jim fell off the ledge. I think aside from that, the movement in this was just absolutely clean.
Exactly. You know, I didn't watch Jem's credits real closely, but you will see that kind of stuff where you see very low bonk counts. And it makes a big difference, you know, if you can just get clean movement throughout the overworld, and throughout your dungeons with those boots, you know, you will get through these dungeons a lot quicker just by having the boots from square one. So we are still waiting to see if we will be joined for by Dr. Marty 0 for an interview. Oh, and it appears we actually will not have Dr. Marty either today. So I guess that's pretty much going to do it from our end today. So once again, I guess, you know, please make sure to follow our runners, Dr. Marty 0 and Gem. Of course, I cannot miss thanking CoCom, Totes Olive, who also did tracking. So running double duty that whole time. Of course, our restream was Feasel today, so, you know, huge thanks there throughout.
And Dr. Marty said, give my love to the crowd, the comms, and the tracker. So thank you, Dr. Marty, and love back to you. That was awesome to watch.
Yeah, that was a great race from both of our runners today. You know, tough end for Dr. Marty in this race, but as we said, Dr. Marty does have at least one more race in the SG Live tournament for a Link to the Past randomizer. There will be a tiebreaker for Group I in the coming days. We're just going to wait for one more match in Group I between Spleeby and Oro. So I'm going to toss that over then. I guess, Totes, you got anything else?
No, all I can say is stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more action on Speed Gaming. We do have the Speed Gaming 1, the Speed Gaming 2, and of course our restreams, our overseas restreams. And thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope you guys catch some more of the action going on throughout this marathon.